My task was simple enough. As a technician stationed in a remote monitoring facility, I oversaw the audio feeds linked to the National Climate Control Project. Each shift, I listened for anomalies, system faults, or external interference. The nature of the environmental controls was complex, yet the technical side was something I understood. Routine was the core of this work. Calm, steady, and silent, the nights rolled past without incident. One evening, while reviewing the recorded transmissions from earlier shifts, I detected a delay in the audio feed from the feed room. It was slight at first, perhaps 2 to 3 seconds, barely perceptible. The voice of my colleague speaking into his microphone lagged noticeably behind the associated environmental data timestamps. I considered equipment latency errors, but the records matched perfectly otherwise. The video feed showed nothing unusual. His mouth and the words did not sync. I ran diagnostics on the system. The audio routing hardware and software showed no faults. Network latency was within expected norms by a large margin. Still, the delay persisted, steady yet subtle. I told myself it was nothing more than a minor glitch, something to note, not to worry about. Yet, I bookmarked the moment for review. A day passed. The delay increased by several seconds. Now it was clear to anyone listening that the audio was not immediate. I conducted playback comparisons, aligning timestamp data, confirming the discrepancy. The technical logs remained unremarkable. My colleague spoke on several occasions, unaware of the delay in his own transmission. I asked if he noticed any issues with his headset or microphone. He reported none. He was convinced the communications were real-time, as expected. Yet the delay continued to grow, evolving into a noticeable pattern. Replies from our shared system that should have been immediate lagged as well, echoing seconds behind their triggers. Instructions issued from one station took longer to be acknowledged at the other. Our interactions resembled asynchronous exchanges rather than live coordination. Still, all indicators suggested normal system health. The environment of the control facility was stable. No signs of interference were detected in radio frequencies or network lines. Power supplies, signal paths, everything measured nominally. Another day, and the delayed responses found their way into the live feed from the woman managing the external sensors in the control tower. She called in, reporting an unusual fluctuation in temperature readings. When I replied, our words crossed in real time. Yet, reviewing the recordings, the timestamps on her words trailed the data she was referencing by over 10 seconds. The timeline was askew. It grew apparent the phenomenon was spreading within the network. The voices were all captured and played back with increasing intervals of time lag. It was not random. The delays grew progressively through the day. The simplest explanation was network congestion, but that was repeatedly disproved by throughput analyses and packet inspections. I documented the growing anomaly quietly, methodically. The man in the server room assured me all machines passed their self-tests. The backup system showed similar delays when engaged. The recordings themselves seemed impervious to correction. Attempts to apply time synchronization fixes failed. They merely adjusted timestamps without changing playback delays. I questioned my perception. Was I misaligning data? If the core system clocks were compromised, could the entire record be altered? I triple-checked the atomic clock reference feeds, stable to within milliseconds. The phenomenon was real. During a late shift, the delayed audio grew to a minute-long gap. The message I heard from my colleague was recorded nearly a full minute after I saw his lips move on the video feed. The woman's voice answering a question lagged so badly that the conversation seemed disjointed, as if they were speaking from separate timelines. Despite the growing disparity, the control room remained secure. Environmental systems operated normally. Data acquisition units registered the expected conditions. The delayed audio was isolated to human speech, not the sensor data itself. Attempts were made to decipher if the delay held a pattern. I isolated each feed, measuring intervals between speech and action. The delay was not linear. It fluctuated in a seemingly erratic manner, yet overall trended toward longer pauses. No clear cause emerged. I proposed a theory to my colleague. Perhaps an external source was interfering with transmission signals. The idea was dismissed. All scanning equipment revealed no anomalies. The environment was static in all frequencies, except those expected. After days of this unfolding, the most unsettling discovery was that the voices often referred to events that had not yet taken place according to the system clock. The woman mentioned a system reboot 5 minutes before it actually occurred in real time. The man commented on errors that appeared only later in the logs. The voices operated out of temporal order. It was confusing at first. Our system was designed to be synchronous, so data points and communications lined up perfectly. Here, information arrived in a scrambled, delayed sequence that challenged causality. I confirmed this repeatedly by verifying event timestamps against speech. I ran further tests, triggered voice commands, initiated system responses that appeared delayed in the recordings, but executed immediately when monitored live. The responses were disjointed from their triggers upon later review. The anomaly expanded further when the voice recordings began, including phrases not uttered during live transmissions. One recording included a warning from the voice claiming, in no uncertain terms, that the delay will reach the core. I knew this phrase had never been stated during the shift. The soft tone made it more unsettling, calm, deliberate, unlike the usual chatter. I submitted the data to the Oversight Committee. I was advised to maintain surveillance and refrain from speculation. Report logs should focus on concrete observations. Over the next week, the delays reached 2 minutes consistently. Speech became fragmented, with phrases clipped and rearranged upon review. Communication logs carried messages referencing failures that had no record in system diagnostics. The voice sometimes issued instructions that never appeared in any live session. At this point, I grew cautious. Had the phenomenon crossed into fabricated reality? Were the recordings manipulated by an unknown source? I attempted to isolate each feed, comparing physical recordings to their real-time signals. The discrepancy persisted. The most alarming development came when the voice I had never heard before entered the network deliberately. It was not a reflection of either the man or the woman, but something else. Smooth, modulated, almost machine-like, yet distinctly human. This voice issued calm commentary on the delays, acknowledging their expansion. It said, "You have not yet understood. That which is deferred requires reconciliation." No identification followed. The voice did not respond to inquiries, nor did it present with any channel or source. I attempted tracing its origin, but logs indicated it originated within the system itself, appearing at irregular intervals across multiple feeds. I rationalized it was a hidden system process, or an AI module introduced in an update. I requested the software team to verify this possibility. The update history showed no recent changes. One evening, I noticed the light above the sink had been flickering for 3 days. Unrelated, but it reminded me how small phenomena, once noticed, tend to accumulate meaning. Back to the delay. The voice spoke again, this time remarking, "Time is not linear, but the record must be exact." This perplexed me further. Was the system somehow experiencing temporal distortion? There was no physical evidence to support such an idea. The man reported difficulty in coordinating with others. He expressed frustration over hearing responses only after his actions were complete. Yet when I researched his shift activity, the sequence matched the recorded delays. The woman confessed she had begun noting discrepancies in her own timing, but refused to accept them as more than technical faults. Her incredulity was based on the lack of visible errors elsewhere in the system. Attempts to resynchronize the system failed. Reboots or resets did not restore timing alignment. The delayed responses resumed upon restart, often with increased lag. One day, a critical event occurred. Sensor readings reported a sudden pressure drop in the climate dome. The voice transmitted a calm directive. "Initiate containment immediately." The man acknowledged, but in the recordings, his response was delayed by 4 minutes. When checking the system in real time, the action taken preceded his reply. Commands and actions were reversed temporally. This inversion challenged the integrity of recorded logs. The timeline no longer matched the linear control imperative we relied upon. I informed my supervisor, who ordered me to halt non-essential communications until the behavior resolved. Yet the delays deepened, and the voice continued to issue messages in fragmented sentences, hinting at synchronization failure. Watching the recordings felt increasingly alien. Speech would sometimes start in mid-word or end abruptly without reason. Sentences were reordered, akin to scrambled dialogue in an unfinished conversation. I questioned if sleep deprivation had skewed my perception, but daily testing of equipment proved consistent results. The anomaly was real, persistent, and expanding in scope. The final recorded message from the unknown voice declared, "The record closes, yet the sequence remains open." I recall reviewing that message repeatedly. The delay had grown to nearly 10 minutes. Our communications resembled echoes in a cavern, disconnected from the live world. I was instructed to maintain observation and document the phenomenon without interference. The anomaly was isolated to the audio network and linked closely to human speech transmissions. Sensor data remained accurate and immediate. A technical explanation escaped me. The system functioned normally in regard to physical controls, but failed to synchronize speech communication. There was no clear source of corruption or malfunction. With that, my report ends. The delay will not stop.